The first rays of the winter sun barely touched the frozen steppe, casting a pale glow across the endless snow-covered plains. Frost clung stubbornly to the felt walls of scattered yurts, and each breath inside turned to mist in the frigid air. Inside one yurt, mothers stirred quietly, preparing simple meals of dried meat, fermented mare's milk, and hard bread. The smoke from the hearth mingled with the earthy scent of tanned hides, creating a small haven of warmth amid the cold. Outside, horses pawed at the frozen ground, scraping layers of frost in search of hidden grass. Their nostrils steamed, and their rhythmic hoof-beats echoed softly across the white expanse. Dogs barked in the distance, and eagles circled overhead, their cries piercing the pale sky. The wind pushed snow into drifting patterns, glittering like diamonds in the morning light. Even in the biting cold, life moved quietly, full of subtle sounds and movements, small reminders of survival and resilience. Fathers wrapped in thick furs checked their weapons carefully. Bows were strung tight, arrows arranged in quivers, and curved swords polished until they gleamed. Every object, every task, was a lesson in vigilance. Children, still sleepy-eyed, watched their parents, mimicking small movements, learning the rhythm of life on the steppe. Outside, the wind whispered through the plains, carrying with it the distant murmur of other families beginning their day. Smoke spiraled into the sky, horses shook their coats, and the frozen land began to stir, marking the start of another long winter day on the Mongolian steppe. By mid-morning, the pale winter sun climbed higher, scattering golden streaks across the frozen expanse. Inside the yurts, mothers moved with quiet precision, tending fires and preparing simple meals while keeping watch over their children. The smell of boiling grains mixed with smoke and tanned hides, creating warmth and comfort despite the freezing air. The rhythm of life was deliberate and disciplined, each motion, each small action, carried the weight of survival. Outside, warriors dressed in heavy furs, inspecting bows, arrows, and curved swords with careful attention. Every weapon had to be in perfect condition. In the harsh winter, even a small mistake could mean disaster. Horses were led across the plains, stamping snow aside, their breath steaming in the cold morning air. Children, bundled in furs, followed on small ponies, learning to ride and navigate the steppe. Dogs ran alongside them, darting through snowdrifts, playful yet alert. The wind swept across the plains, carrying laughter and the distant calls of hunting eagles. Every family existed in its own small circle, performing tasks that had been practiced for generations. Women repaired saddles and wove thick garments, preserving skills essential for winter survival. The steppe, vast and unforgiving, demanded resilience, and the Mongols met it with quiet discipline, their lives intertwined with the rhythms of the land, the animals, and the harsh but beautiful winter around them. By midday, the winter sun hung low, casting pale shadows over the frozen plains. Warriors rode in disciplined formations, practicing archery and maneuvers across the snow-covered steppe. Every arrow whistled sharply, striking distant targets, each movement a reminder of life or death skill needed in this unforgiving land. Children followed on smaller ponies, mimicking their elders' movements. Their laughter floated through the cold air, a fleeting warmth in the otherwise harsh winter. Dogs bounded across the snow, playful yet ever watchful, while horses shook their thick coats, stirring up frost into clouds that shimmered under the pale sunlight. Inside the yurts, women continued daily tasks, weaving thick garments, repairing saddles, and preparing hides for long winter nights. Smoke drifted lazily upward, blending with the pale sky. The day moved with quiet precision, each action reinforcing survival and the traditions that had been passed down for generations. The steppe felt both vast and intimate. Families existed within small circles of life, surrounded by white emptiness, yet bound together by necessity and tradition. Feeding animals, tending fires, checking weapons, every small action was a thread in the delicate fabric of endurance. The wind whispered across the plains, carrying the rhythm of a people whose lives were inseparable from the land itself. As the afternoon sun dipped lower, shadows stretched across the plains. Warriors continued riding, testing horses and bows, maintaining readiness even in the cold. Every movement was deliberate, measured, and necessary. Small clouds of breath and frost followed each rider as they moved across the snow. Inside the yurts, women guided children through lessons of weaving, leatherworking, and other skills essential for survival. The scent of boiling meat and grains filled the air, combining with smoke to create a sense of warmth and community. Even the smallest tasks held meaning: folding furs, arranging firewood, checking water containers, or ensuring the animals were fed. Children occasionally ran outside to play in the snow, their laughter mingling with the calls of eagles and the crunch of hoofbeats. Dogs darted after them, keeping watch over both children and herds. The land was harsh, yet life continued with a rhythm shaped by both necessity and ancient tradition. Each day, every action, reinforced resilience, endurance, and the connection between family, animals, and the open plains. By mid-afternoon, families paused to rest. Around the fires, elders recounted stories of ancestors, battles fought, and the great Khans who had led their people across these very plains. Their voices carried across the yurts, blending with the wind that swept over the snow. Each story contained lessons: bravery, cunning, and the importance of unity. Children listened intently, their eyes wide, imagining the past adventures. Their small hands fidgeted with leather scraps and wool threads, learning patience and the value of tradition through observation. Dogs rested nearby, ears perked, sensing both play and vigilance. Outside, horses grazed on sparse winter grass, their hooves stirring frost with each step. Warriors occasionally practiced short exercises, shooting arrows and checking their gear. The steppe, vast and silent in places, was alive with movement, sound, and the pulse of life that persisted even in winter. Every action, story, and lesson was a thread in the unbroken chain of survival that had carried the Mongols through countless winters. As the sun began its descent, long shadows stretched across the plains. Families returned to their yurts, stoking fires higher and preparing evening meals. The smell of boiling meat, grains, and smoked hides filled the air. Children gathered close to the warmth, listening to elders recount histories, traditions, and the lessons of survival. Outside, the wind howled, brushing snow against the yurts and stirring small drifts. Horses stamped the ground, shaking their thick coats, sending clouds of frost into the air. Warriors checked their bows and swords one last time before night fell, ensuring readiness for any unexpected threat. Women continued weaving and repairing garments, while children mimicked the motions, learning skills that would sustain them in the months to come. The rhythm of evening life was deliberate and steady, reflecting the harmony between humans, animals, and the harsh but enduring land. Each action reinforced endurance, unity, and the knowledge that survival depended on care, attention, and tradition. Night approached slowly, painting the steppe in muted shades of silver and blue. The yurts glowed softly from the hearth fires, offering warmth against the bitter cold. The wind whipped across the plains, shaking felt walls and sending small clouds of snow drifting into the sky. Families huddled close, wrapped in furs, speaking softly, sharing stories, and tending the animals one last time. Horses nickered, stamping their hooves, while dogs lay quietly, alert yet relaxed. Even in the long winter night, life had a rhythm, each movement deliberate and precise. Elders recounted tales of ancestors, teaching lessons of bravery, loyalty, and endurance. Children listened, eyes wide in the flickering firelight, absorbing traditions that would guide them through countless winters. The steppe, vast and silent, held both beauty and danger. And yet, within the walls of their yurts, the Mongols found warmth, security, and the steady pulse of life continuing through the cold night. After sunset, silence settled over the steppe. Only the crackle of fires and the soft breathing of horses and dogs could be heard. The yurts, dimly lit from within, offered warmth and shelter from the bitter cold. Families huddled together, layered in furs, speaking in whispers or simply sitting in quiet reflection. The elders reflected on the day, on the routines, the vigilance, and the small victories of survival. Even in rest, every family member remained alert to the rhythm of the land. Children drifted to sleep, dreaming of spring pastures and the vast plains they called home. Outside, snowflakes drifted gently, covering the steppe in a delicate blanket, a silent reminder of nature's dominance and beauty. Life on the steppe was both harsh and serene, demanding endurance and resilience. Each winter day was a lesson, teaching patience, respect for nature, and the unbreakable bonds that held families, animals, and traditions together. The night deepened, but the pulse of life, though quieter, continued steadily through the frozen plains. In the dead of night, some warriors remained awake, keeping watch over the yurts and the surrounding plains. The wind howled across the frozen landscape, rattling doors and shifting snow. Fires glowed dimly, casting shadows that danced across walls lined with furs and hides. Horses stamped their hooves, dogs lay alert, and the silence of the steppe was occasionally broken by the distant cry of an eagle or the rustle of small animals beneath the snow. Inside, families slept in layered furs, breathing slowly, yet ready to awaken at the slightest sign of danger. The elders whispered to one another, sharing wisdom, recounting battles, and remembering those who had passed. Every small sound, every flicker of light, reminded them of the fragility and resilience of life on the steppe. The cold was harsh, unyielding, yet life persisted through vigilance, unity, and centuries of practiced endurance. As the first light of a new day approached, the yurts stirred once more. Horses pawed at the snow, clouds of breath rising into the frigid air. Warriors and children began to wake, stretching limbs stiff from the night. Fires were stoked, and the scent of boiling meat and grain filled the small spaces once more. The wind swept across the plains, carrying faint sounds of movement, the distant calls of animals, and the ever-present echo of survival. Every family, every animal, every action was part of a rhythm as old as the land itself. The steppe, harsh and beautiful, demanded respect, attention, and harmony. Life continued, uninterrupted, through the long winters. The routines of preparation, vigilance, and survival formed the heartbeat of the Mongols, connecting generations past and future. With the new dawn, the cycle began again, another day of endurance, tradition, and the quiet strength of a people bound to the frozen land they called home.